Good evening and welcome to TV30 GISNTN. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, audience, and our guests. Tonight we are stepping into dance and having a conversation about legacy, artistry, and the future. For this special segment, we delve deeper into the incredible legacy of the St. Lucia School of Ballet and Modern Dance. So, why listen with your heart, your feet, and your senses? Because we will hear from two distinguished individuals whose work spans decades of dedication to the arts. First, we have Mrs. Teresa Lowry Collymore, the visionary whose vision has created opportunities for so many of us to grow, and whose leadership has nurtured countless talents over 45 years. And we also have, joining her, Mr. Alistair Platt, fresh from the UK, visiting us on his tour, and he is a global representative for the Royal Academy of Dance. Yes, an organization synonymous with excellence in ballet training worldwide.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Very happy to. We're excited about this 45th anniversary. A lot of dance, a lot of conversation. The St. Lucia School of Ballet and Modern Dance celebrates 45 years of tutelage, successful outcomes, performances, excellence. So curtains up, silence in the wings, and cue music, and as you say before exams and exercises, ready, prepare. Okay, so Mrs. Collymore, a question on fortitude, longevity, and the evolution of the school. Yes, 45 years. I don't know how many people can actually fathom that. Why have you stayed? What was different then when you came to St. Lucia? You've continued, you've held that, carried the speakers, carried the tape, gone to Viewfort, gone to Library. So why have you stayed, and what was different then, and why do you continue?
Remember, when I began, there wasn't formal training in classical ballet and classes, and it was I was reaching for a raft that I wouldn't drown, because I wanted to return to the UK, but I was not allowed to. And then I was encouraged, my parents said, why don't you start teaching? So I was actually teaching and working at the same time. I actually worked full time. I was the social hostess of Cunard Talk. I took on these sort of jobs and then did the teaching in the afternoon towards the evenings. Then you could do that. As I said, the novelty too, that there was a teacher who was a real strict ballet teacher who teaches dance and had an English accent. And there was, I had the drive, the energy to make it happen. I think people were very curious then, very curious, and I managed to source support, and through the venues I tried to go to everywhere I could to reach. But mainly I believed in the message. I believed in the training that I had, and that I could pass on this knowledge to St. Lucia, because I could see that there's culture starvation. And I saw also a desert that had there's no oasis, so I created the oasis. Yes, I carried a lot of things. Everything was portable in those days. We didn't have that luxury of remote controls really until within that last 20 years. But as I said, there was this keen, I was plowing through new earth, new ground, and therefore there was this enthusiasm and a curiosity. And I just maintained the standard that I was trained and taught in, and was able to distribute that, pass it on, and parents were drawn by the fact that they really thought there was a great impact, positive impact on their children. And every time they told me how they're so proud and how they think that the school is doing such a good job, that kept me going, kept fueling me. And also the children didn't have as many distractions then. They were not involved in so many other activities, which they are now. And so all that helped. It helped to establish the school. It helped me to place things in a way where I could grow. The school did the springboard. Now I've gained more wisdom, knowledge, and understanding too that you have to compete with the changing trends. You have to compete with a different way of life, the devices, even compete with the way the children are learning now. It's very different because every 5 years the generation changes. And a devoted teacher, a dedicated teacher, should actually notice that and realize that they have to change their way of teaching, the way, the angle they want to come from to reach that child. And they have to stay current with the local slangs, the local way, the characters that they're seeing on television and the movies, and that you have to be on top of those so that you can relate to them. So that because I teach with relating to everyday life and everyday characters and personalities that they come across as they're growing up. So all that is a constant change, but I think teaching children too helps you to stay young and keeps regenerating you with energy. So I don't feel any older than I did 45 years ago, but as far as the numbers are concerned, yes, especially when I see my adult students, and now I see their children, and just now there'll be a grandmother who's my student. So it's fascinating. That keeps me going, and it has gained so much. I've gained so much satisfaction from that yes, maybe I am doing a fairly good job. But my parents made good decisions on that. They led the way. And I'm seeing it radiate and spread, even not just in the island, but also internationally.
Full circle, in a sense.
Yes.
And now you're thanking your parents, which it takes some of us a while to get around and to see. But it's interesting and it's fascinating hearing how you've developed and changed. You brought something new, something novel, but you're also appreciating that there are local nuances that are important to know and understand. And on that, I springboard a little bit, or plier, jeter across to Mr. Flat, because you're traveling a lot. You're traveling, you're seeing RAD and how it's accepted and how it adjusts and how it maneuvers in the different countries. You mentioned that the organization is over 100 years old, but what makes it relevant today, and how do you see meeting individuals like Teresa Lowry Collymore and the work she's doing in her school? How do you see that? What is your perspective on what they're doing? Are they succeeding? And what does the RAD's perspective bring to bear in our conversation on the world today and the arts and dance? Heavy question.
Yeah, a question with a few levels, but thank you for the question. I am one of the lucky few in the Royal Academy of Dance who does get to travel and see what the effects of everything that the Academy is trying to achieve lived out in different parts of the world. And we are truly a global organization spread across 80-something countries with about 8,500 teachers like Mrs. Collymore in a variety of schools and teaching contexts. The RAD has a central tenet, if you like, a central mission to strive for excellence. So that's trying to support the teachers to create programs and learning environments and classes that are going to be enticing to their context, the students that are in their locality, but always aiming for that same skills progression and that same route towards outcomes. And those outcomes can be at many levels. You may want to do this dance for a profession. You may want to be a performer. You may want to be a teacher. You may want to do it more as a hobby. But in any case, wherever you are, you need to do solid skills progression to give yourselves the foundations to then explore your artistry yourself and your creativity yourself. In terms of that global variance, if you like, it's quite interesting because everybody can take it and work with it as they like, but actually fundamentally it's the same thing. So what you see happening in Mrs. Collimore's school, you can see happening in a school in China or in South Africa or in Australia or in Rome. And that's really a great legacy for the Royal Academy of Dance at 100 years that you can see that uniformity in a way. And that's very important when it comes to the validation of the progression as well. So a student taking a particular assessment, an exam, dance exam here, needs to know that what they're doing is the same that might be happening in London or elsewhere. And the examiner panel that we have, some 180 examiners in the panel who travel the world assessing all these young dancers, their challenge is to make sure that person on that day with that performance and that demonstration of skills gets the score that they would have got if it had happened on another day and in another place and in another context.
Mrs. Collymore, you're nodding, so you agree. Is there any point of divergence? Are there areas that you don't think, not necessarily that the RAD could improve because you followed their syllabus, there's various syllabi over the years, but what else would you add for St. Lucia?
Are you referring really to the syllabus itself?
Syllabus or
Yes.
exams, because there is such a wide array of services being offered by the RAD. Do you find that you can access them? Are they well suited for the St. Lucian context?
Yes, but you could add in, if you add in a free teacher's dance,
Okay.
then the teacher's dance, one would, with guidance, would perhaps grasp maybe more of the cultural traditions of that particular country, and that it could be allowed to be shown in the choreography. Okay. Still relaying or portraying the vocabulary the children are studying on, because everything will be whole and content, but also that way too, there is a way of showing them the best of that child. Now we do have the solo awards exam. We do have that. But if there is a way that if one could have a choice instead of doing European traditional dance in the syllabus, that one could have traditional dance from their own country included.
Or both.
Right? Included, yes.
Yeah.
So you'd have both. Yes.
Can I jump in and add,
Sure.
add to that?
Okay, it's getting interesting now.
Yes, and I'm really pleased to hear this kind of feedback privately, publicly. It's all good. The Academy is an open book, and we will face our challenges and our opportunities and everything in a very open and honest way. We, as an older organisation, are on a journey of change. We're not exactly what we looked like in the 1920s. We have evolved lots of options and opportunities for teachers to interact with us in different ways. And this kind of more self-expression and choreographied opportunity to bring your own choreography to the skills expression is a message that we hear we hear in other parts of the world, and actually, although I'm not going to share any details with you today, have a plan to add some more space for those kinds of opportunities of expression in the near future. So the Academy is on a journey, and we need to follow all of the things that you've mentioned about how society is changing, whilst not sacrificing any of that pursuit of excellence.
The excellence.
Yes.
So we now take a break, and then we come back for more inspiring information. Where do we go with the School of Ballet? And more from RAD. Thank you. Please stay tuned.
What's in the food you're eating? Do you really even know? All the chemicals and hormones used to accelerate their growth. All the artificial flavoring, sweeteners and colors too. We consume and we don't spare a thought for the damage that they'll do. No, think about the children. Think about the children. How will we save them? Chemicals and GMOs are not the solution. Use organic and join revolution.
Excessive agrochemical use, additives, and genetically modified foods are harmful to health and the environment. Join the good food revolution. Grow, buy, and consume organic. A message from Rise St. Lucia and the Ministry of Sustainable Development with funding from the GEF Small Grants Program, UNDP.
The good food revolution.
Welcome back to TV30 GIS NTN, and we're celebrating the 45th anniversary of the St. Lucia School of Ballet and Modern Dance in St. Lucia. Mrs. Teresa Lowry Collymore, I would ask you to curtsy, but we'll continue with the discussion for now. Mr. Platt, welcome again.
Thank you.
The RAD has sent you as a representative to recognize the work of Teresa Lowry Collymore and the St. Lucia School of Ballet, especially with classical ballet on the island. Can we find out a little bit about you? Who are you? How did you get involved with the RAD? And perhaps what can we expect in terms of your presence here with the lady of the hour?
Yeah, certainly. I am an education professional who's had a wide range of experiences across higher education, sports education, and then the last sections of my career moving into the arts, more formally with music, and then more recently this role in the Royal Academy of Dance. My role is to be the director of the global business development, so it's really to be an important cog in or a link in the chain between our network around the world of schools and teachers and students working with our products and services and systems and structures, and to feed into kind of how do we make that better for today, and what do we do next for the future?
Yes.
Where, what direction should we go in? I think aside from examiners, it has been a long time since anybody from the sort of central team of the RAD has toured through the islands, and I'm not by any means going to them all, but I'm delighted to be here to recognize and celebrate such an achievement of establishing and growing and maintaining a school of excellence within any context is complicated, but when you're the only one within a community like the island here of St. Lucia, it's an extra challenge.
The business of excellence, I would want to say. Mrs. Collymore, the world is celebrating, and you had an opportunity to meet Julian Alfred.
Yes.
I know you exchanged some words with her. Business, excellence, the arts. What would you say to a parent or to a child who comes into your doors, because it's an opportunity? You never know where they will get, if they will be the next Julian Alfred. But what is your advice to the parent or to the young dancer who wants to be on the world stage, who wants to perhaps be the Julian Alfred of dance?
I would tell the child that, well, firstly, the parent, I notice it's better to go to the parent first than the child. So convincing the parent that it's going to mean discipline, not only on the child's part, it's going to actually mean discipline on the parent's part. They're the ones who's going to have to bring the child on time to make sure the child does necessary practicing, because we do have ballet homework, we have dance homework. They're going to have to make sure that the child is always well groomed. There's all these disciplines that the parents have to understand, that is what encourages the child to be disciplined. That the way they organise and run the life, how they go up and to and fro from school, is going to have a positive effect on the child and helps our work now to reach this child now to understand what discipline is. And the child is constantly told that Yes, there's enjoyment, and the enjoyment has to come out of the way you apply yourself. If you want the results, you're going to have to pull your weight to acquire them. And yes, the discipline, but the consistency, the insistence, the tenacity, and learning more and more, knowing more and more, finding out more and more about what you're studying. I believe in that too. Watch other disciplines as well. Look at the similarity, look at differences. Julian Alfred is an athlete, Olympic athlete, and at the presentation I was showing that the Olympic athlete is very similar to the classical dancer. We may have different studios. She has a track, and we have a studio, but we both have the same goals, both goal orientated. But one is isolated to one's own, on their own, and very individual, and not necessarily communicating with the crowd, whereas we have a language that we are producing a message all the time. So now you get a conversation. There's two different conversations going on there. The dancer's language and the athlete. The athlete is very self-gratificating as far as their awards and that when they win, and that's it. Now a dancer has to perform the same way, probably gain awards too, but their performance has to last in the minds of their audience forever. The athlete is short-lived. You win that race and that's it. And everybody remembers you that you won until the next one. The dancer may just do one or two performances and maybe never dance again, but that memory has to linger on forever. And this is where you start to go in different paths. But you meet again in the application, in the discipline, in the grind. That's the same place. And this child has to understand there is that price to pay. But the school will meet that individual as far as they want to go. For your example, Richard, you were one. I said, I'll meet you where you want to go, Richard. Yeah. If it was a Sunday afternoon and you want to do another hour, I'm there with you. But you will go I will go with you as far as you want to go. It's a road that you cannot, no one can do it for you.
Appreciated. Deep, appreciated. Structure, syllabi, commitment, discipline. I'm going to ask you just to comment on those again, because we're now trying to get dance into the secondary schools. Perhaps that's happening in the UK already. The transference of your skills, your qualifications in an RAD exam into your O-levels. How does that work in the UK? What progress are you making in St. Lucia with that, Mrs. Coleman?
May I start?
Yes.
Yes, it's a good question. Dance in the global context in high schools is suffering. It's suffering against science, mathematics, languages, where governments, departments for education are focusing on those skills as being more than all of the arts together. Not just dance, and that is sad. It's therefore a lack of resource. This is why this comes about. But where the failure is in that is understanding how much the arts bring to a human being, and how much that changes the individual and rounds the individual off in that more holistic sense. A human being. What does a human being do with its leisure time? Is creativity. Creativity is the expression of what we are, and it doesn't really matter what your art form is. But if you suffocate that in the schools, you don't do very well. Now, what can we do about this? I think it's a big journey before we start to underpin and connect different education systems to award qualifications. But what must happen is space be created in the secondary schools to allow access. Let's start with access. If you put something in a curriculum that is mandatory, every student will try it. And if you try it, you might like it. And then you have a chance to explore it further if you've had a chance to try it. So that would be my starter. The second thing is, for any educational organization that doesn't really know where to start with that, there are organizations like the Royal Academy, and in other art forms there are other organizations similar that you could liaise with and partner with to create that taster, that curriculum space, and make it of really good quality, make it sound, and lean on networks of teachers that we've trained to deliver those things, and actually get it started, because it can seem quite overwhelming to a department for education to try and suddenly implement a change in an arts program. So they don't have to do it in isolation is the message.
Wonderful. Dito, Mrs. Collymore?
Dito, yes. Dito, because we are experiencing I call it the hindrances. The children are being overtaxed as far as their workload, their attendance in school on a daily basis. The after school is taken up with another set of lessons. And when they do finally manage to wheel in 1 or 2 dance classes, ballet classes in the week, I'm getting a very fatigued individual at the end of the afternoon. And when you're fatigued, you're not as spontaneous, you're not as quick, and your imagination tends to be a bit limited as well, because you're not allowed to free up, as they say. The energies are low. I don't know what we could do about that, because I don't know how we can start saying that we're not going to have private school in school. But the teachers, I think, have the children. The child should be given a choice that if they want to of course they want to excel academically, but they also want to excel in their artistic interests as well. But to suffocate that, going back to what Mr. Platt said, it is suffocating because they don't get a lot of time to do that. But perhaps if they did the afternoon program and fused it together and put movement in, because children actually learn quicker. You learn your times table a little quicker if you moved, if you bounce a ball, if you jump and leap. I have a grandson who's like that. My husband's a bit like that. They learn better by actually moving, and I have witnessed studies and research where there's a history teacher in the US, and most of her lessons are done through movement, and the children are spot on.
Thank you, Mrs. Collymore. I know we can go on for another 45 years, hopefully we do. But thank you so much for this riveting conversation about dance, the arts, excellence, and it continues. So we ask everyone to look out for the various activities, news articles, social media, television, performances, tea parties, champagne, and celebrations of the 45th anniversary of the St. Lucia School of Ballet in St. Lucia. Thank you very much to everyone for listening. Please feel free to reach out to the school, check the website, do some more research on RAD, and let's all dance.
Thank you for having us. It's been a lovely time.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard.